To build the 33rd best radio show in Portland. On Saturdays, about sports. The Sinner and the Saint will be that show. Better than they were before. Sportsier, funnier, more Labradoodles. The Sinner and the Saint Tailgate Show on 1080 The Fan, the
Odyssey
app, and 1080thefan.com.
Hey, hey, hey! What is up, people of Portland? It's Will Darkins here for another edition of the Sinner and the Saint, a rivalry week edition of the Sinner and the Saint. No Luke Anderson. I have no clue what he's doing. We don't talk outside the show.
Why would you?
No.
Channeling the old Mike and Mike.
That's right.
And
Oh,
Mike,
really?
Francesa and Mike and the Mad Dog.
Will Ortner, by the way.
Yeah, that's me. What's up?
So Mike and Mike didn't talk.
That's like the rumor. Like if the mic wasn't on, they did not associate with each other in any way, which that blows my mind.
I think I could understand it if you were doing a show every day during the week. Because most typical shows are 3 to 4 hours. So 3 to 4 hours, you have to very intently pay attention to another person and talk to them. Luke and I, we do a 2-hour show once a week. So we still text during the week and, rag on stuff we think's funny. And then I guess that's our show prep, really. It's not very complicated.
Well, here's the thing, though. I've worked with people I have hated before. Now, luckily, not here at this station. But like in college, I remember I had to do something for the stupid newspaper and was like, I hate my editor.
Yeah.
This guy is a moron. He takes himself way too serious. It's a college newspaper, and we're writing about mold in the cafeteria. Shut up. I'm not going to go out and get 20 sources. I'm going to get 2 or 3, and I'm going to write a nice puff piece about how we've cleaned out the mold. I don't care. It's over. But
isn't that the story you botched?
I did not botch.
You botched.
I did not botch. Incorrect.
Because there was very clearly a hint
No.
the person you interviewed gave you. And I'm not even blaming you. You did exactly what I would have done. Go ahead. Tell the story again.
What happened was I was writing a piece for the newspaper. I was told that there had been mold in like a bistro or the cafeteria, whatever it was. It was like an eating place on campus. And I went and I interviewed the manager of the bistro, and they were like, we fixed it. It's not an issue anymore. I interviewed one of the workers at the bistro, and they're like, it's fine, no worries. And I went and I interviewed one student who was eating at the bistro and was like, I didn't know there was mold here, and I don't care. Frankly, leave me alone. I'd like to eat my sandwich in peace, you weird, tall, long-haired man. And so I wrote a nice puff piece about it. And then as soon as I did that, my editor, who took his job way too serious, he's not even in the industry anymore, moron. And so then he had a big hissy fit about how I didn't interview like 20 different people because there was like one complaint one time about the article that I wrote that didn't go into enough detail. It's a college newspaper. Who cares? Who cares? I hated that guy, by the way, but I was still nice to him and I talked to him. And if I ran into him in public, I would say hi.
Now, I think maybe there's a different one that I was thinking of. But what I remember from the story was the fact that one of the people you interviewed gave a piece of information incidentally
Yes.
during the interview that
Yes.
led to worse stuff.
Yeah.
And you essentially did what I would have done, and I praised you for this, which was, all right.
That did happen. The manager was like, don't worry, we cleaned it up.
Yeah.
It shouldn't come back again, but we'll get it checked out later. And I could have followed up and been like, what do you mean?
It shouldn't. Can you give me more of an assurance? But then when he gave you that half-hearted assurance, you went, all right.
I was like, okay. If I remember correctly as well, the mold came back like 2 months later. I remember correctly.
Hard-hitting reporting.
Well, that's not my job. I didn't want to be a big J journalist. I was supposed to go into that newspaper and write for the sports section.
Yeah.
They promised me that I'd get to write about sports, and then they said it was a conflict of interest, and they weren't going to let me write. Well, my whole thing was I play for the football team. I'm not going to write about the football team. That makes sense.
That's fair.
But guess where I spend half of my day. I'm in a facility with all the other
Mhm.
athletes. You should allow me to talk to said athletes about how their season's
Yeah.
going. It would be super easy. And I had a good relationship with the SIDs
Mhm.
because they were my SIDs. And there were lots of issues with reporters getting
Yeah.
interviews with students because they wouldn't go through the SIDs, or when they would, the SIDs would ask them questions about what types of questions they were going to ask. And these guys would try and do a bunch of gotcha journalism where they're like, you lost that last game. Was it the coaching or was it this player? And it's just like, the whole thing was stupid.
Yeah. No, I think you're right where you belong.
Yeah,
I don't think you're a hard-hitting journalist, and
Nope.
that's okay. You don't need to be.
I don't want to be.
I don't
That
think
being
I was
said-
a hard-hitting journalist either. I had to write a couple of newspaper articles. I think I had to write one once where, and this actually is true, and I guess maybe I should have dug deeper, but I also felt kind of like weird about it. And it was similar to what happened with you, except everybody was just kind of like, okay, well, I would have written about that. I'd write like a farewell piece to a professor who was leaving college. And I just started in on talking to her about certain things. And then she had revealed that there was an inappropriate relationship had early in her career.
that she had?
Yeah. With
Oh.
like a staff, or it was like a junior staff or intern kind of thing.
She was,
And I did
hanging
nothing-
out- She's hanging out with the TA.
Dude, that was my senior year. I did exactly what you did. I was like, all right,
Yep. Nope. Not doing it. Not
Instead
touching
of-
it.
go back to
Not
that.
touching it.
what was that? How many years ago was that?
What do you mean?
No, I just did that,
inappropriate relationship.
And I had it in my notes, and I sent it in, and then they like approved the final version, and then yeah, my teacher was like, "Well, what's this here?" I was like, "Oh yeah, something about some relationship." He's like, "I would have asked more about that." And I was like, "But why?" And he's like, "Because that's the story."
My favorite part is that you had still left it in your notes.
Yeah.
When I would get answers like that,
Clearly,
I would put my pen down on purpose and
yeah,
not write about
just
it.
like
Nope, not gonna do it.
look, I'm gonna ad lib your quote, so just
Like, we're not.
tell me whatever.
No, I am going to put you in the best possible light. And if I am the one who gets ripped apart
Yeah.
for writing a puff piece about the university that I go to, the
Mhm.
university that I'm trying to get multiple degrees from,
Yeah.
a university that I see the president fairly regularly because I play on the football team and he's a big fan of the football team. I'm going to make sure that all those people are happy and enjoy time around me, and I'm not going to risk making any of them mad. Like, I remember we had so the thing about the SIDs, the journalism students at Central had like a big like op-ed piece that they wrote where they were like, we are being silenced by
Oh.
the SIDs in the community. And they were like, I can't remember if they were rioting outside of the athletic department
my.
or if they were just like picketing, but they were handing out these newspapers where like someone had their mouth duct taped and it was
my.
a whole big hullabaloo. And they're like, Will, are you going to be out here with us? And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to be out there with you. I have to work with those people too. I like them more than I like most of you. It's not going to happen.
Damn it, Will! Our First Amendment rights are on the line.
I don't think anyone's First Amendment rights were on the line. When you try and conduct an interview and get an interview by Snapchatting someone, I think you might be in the wrong. If you're out
Yeah.
there sending a selfie like, you want to be interviewed by me? I'm shocked that the softball players were like, hey, Mr.
thank you.
SID, why is this man snapping me and saying that he wants to interview me?
I think a lot of the times in college, things feel like a bigger deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Than they really are to you personally. And perhaps this is me being jaded. It's probably me being jaded. As you get older, you start to kind of recognize that you don't have individually a lot of control over large existential issues. And really, the best thing you can do is to reframe whatever concern you have about these giant problems into a more local and community-oriented mindset. Meaning, don't take on the big, whatever scary monster that, everybody's been talking about, whether it's the government, a corporation, an SID who you think is silencing you or whatever.
They weren't.
Yeah. You don't really
just
need to
weren't.
do that because at the end of the day, you won't affect enough change unless you have a lot of money. If you have a lot of money, you can do that. That's been proven over and over in this country. You can do that. If you have a ton of money, you can get a lot done. If you don't, I would recommend maybe like going to your community center and seeing if you can make a difference there.
Right.
Because you'll actually affect people's lives there instead of coming up to people with Snapchat softball players and yelling at them who they probably got out of practice and are like, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Dude, it was one of those.
I remember being out of practice and not wanting to do anything. I don't want to talk to you, especially my teammates. Please leave.
Like, leave me alone.
I want to go back to my house.
That was one of the joys of being a big demo lineman is that I never had to deal with that. Now, every once in a while, like a kid in the community would be like, you play football, please sign my t-shirt. And it's like, kid, that actually makes the t-shirt worth less. Like, you don't want this autograph at all. But okay, I guess like if you really have to have it, sure. I'll tell you right now, there were a couple, and I had a friend who if I remember the story correctly, she had gotten a bigger one where there was some misconduct between someone in a position of power and someone below. I don't remember the whole situation because, again, as soon as they were telling me what was going on, I was like, why did you take that story? Yeah. Why would you put yourself in this place? Like, they spent all quarter, so 10 weeks, working on this story about how this person was misusing their position. And I can't remember if it was hearsay or like what the whole situation was on it. But I just remember thinking the entire time of like, why? Yeah. Why would you, like, you're putting yourselves in the crosshairs. You're putting yourself in legal crosshairs, possibly, if you do this incorrectly, because guess what? Your 19 to 21-year-old, air quotes, journalist here.
They're journalists, damn it.
You're probably going to put yourself in a spot where you might get into some trouble. And it's just like, why would you do this? Why would you not just take the, like, oh, this is a puff piece about a professor who just won this great achievement in their field.
The truth doesn't adhere to your standards.
The problem is that everyone sees the Northwestern journalism, the students, where they were like, we found out that there was hazing going on in the football locker rooms. And then they blow this big story. And then everyone at every college in America that's a journalism student is like, that's me next. Like, I can't wait until I get the hazing story at my college. It's just like, you're not going to get it.
I think it started before that because I think it was the Penn State.
Was that student journalism too?
Yeah, it was. Sandusky. It began with a woman who worked at whatever newspaper at Penn State was, and she uncovered it, and then everybody else caught on to it. Yeah, I remember the Northwest. I probably have to break, but I remember the Northwestern hazing thing. And I remember thinking that none of that stuff ever happened to me, but also I was like, it doesn't sound that bad. Wasn't there like a lot of ass slapping or what was going on?
There were some things where it's like, okay, that's probably too far. But the one that sticks out to me was called the car wash. And basically a bunch of O-linemen would get out of the shower after they'd soap themselves up, and then they'd make dudes like run in between them. That's the one that I remember. Oh. Or like if a quarterback was fumbling snaps, the O-line would get naked and then make him take snaps under center in the locker room. If I remember that story correctly, which probably shouldn't laugh.
You said the car wash?
If I remember right, they were doing a thing called the car wash.
Yeah. And I got the story from the student newspaper. In a once-a-year tradition dubbed the car wash, the first player said that some players would stand naked at the entrance of the showers and spin around, forcing them to enter the showers to, quote, basically rub up against bare-naked men. Upon entering the showers, the players alleged that the players set up a hose that connected to a shower to spray the people. It's extremely painful, the player said. Why are you laughing? You are horrible.
I am, but I don't know. The image of a big fat offensive lineman being like, this is going to be a great idea. I'm going to get naked,
Yeah.
put a bunch of soap on me, and then we're going to make freshmen run in between us. Won't this be so funny? Is just the dumbest, broiest college football O-lineman thing possible to do. Like, you don't think in any way that you could possibly get in some trouble for this?
Yeah, and too, I think that one part of the story when it came out was that people were somehow kind of like shocked by the homoerotic nature of this stuff. And I mean, I'm here to tell you that
A lot of that.
it's like
yeah,
that. It's kind of
is.
like that.
It is.
It straddles the line of like, that you shouldn't be showing that to another adult man. But he's your teammate.
We had a dude in college who his favorite thing to do was he would wait until the very last minute to get dressed, and as soon as he got in the locker room, he was fully nude. And he
Just walk
loved
around and-
walking around
Yeah.
and making sure that his foot was up on a stool anytime he had to talk to someone. And he was going to make sure he
Let it
was a
hang.
close talker. Like that
Yeah.
was his thing. That's what he thought was like funny. And so the hazing is not funny. The idea that they were like, why are we getting in trouble for this? Is funny because it's so stupid.
Yes.
Like, how do you not see that what you're doing is inappropriate?
Because they're football players.
And they're
'Cause we're dumb.
They're
We're dumb.
O linemen and D linemen.
They're all
Gosh,
dumb.
I love them, but
I was
it
so
is the
Oh yeah.
it's the dumbest position.
I was
in
such
groups.
I was such a dummy when I was playing football.
Oh, dude.
I'm still kind of a dummy, but it's a different way. It's a more innocent way I'm a dummy now. Back then I was a dangerous dummy.
I'm not I don't know. Well, I was a dangerous dummy at one point.
Yeah.
But it was more of an anger dangerous
Oh.
dummy. But now I would say I'm a dummy, but it's more about like what are taxes and why do I owe the government this amount of
That's a
money?
good kind of dummy. You're asking
Yeah.
the right questions.
I had to go.
Now you
and-
could be a bad dummy if you start like going down conspiracy videos.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I'm not into conspiracies. Like we landed on the moon. It's fine. I did spend like an extra like 30 minutes at Charles Schwab trying to figure out how my IRA worked. So
That's
that was
great.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you should be doing instead of what you did when you were
Got a
a
retirement
journalist, quote unquote. Okay,
Dude,
see, you
furthest
don't
thing
want to
from
take
it.
money out of your IRA early because if you do, okay, yeah, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah. Everyone else is in a suit and I'm in my workout gear. Just came from the gym.
You understand that, right? If you take out the money early, it gets taxed. I guess what? I don't. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. when can I get this money out? You can't get it out till 62.
Can I just
Okay.
take
Hey,
it out now?
Hey, so I didn't put any like there's some extra money in there that I didn't put in. Oh, it actually grows.
Yeah.
Because it gets interest and it goes with this mark.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Okay. How
Okay,
how does it-
sounds good.
what am I invested? Am I invested in Apple? What's happening?
All right, it's rivalry week. Woo! It's already begun. Michigan and Ohio State have kicked off. It's scoreless, but they have kicked off. I watched some of the big nooner this morning, and they brought on former Ohio State and Michigan dudes to talk to each other. It's called one of the greatest rivalries in football. But I would disagree because there's another one going on today here in the Northwest. Oregon, Washington. Let's talk about it. Coming up here next on a Will Squared edition of the Sinner and the Saint on 1080 The Fan. Now, are you ready to do traffic and weather or not? Because we can skip it.
That's not till 10.
Oh, that's not? Okay. All right. Let's break. Many Oregon fans consider this the biggest rivalry of the season for them, even though they already played a rivalry game earlier.
Not
I'm better
at all.
I'm better. Number
Hmm.
one Oregon Ducks hosting the Washington Huskies at Autzen. You can listen to it right here on The Fan. Of course, there is coverage coming up next after the Sinner and the Saint with some Ducks Roundtable and some
The encore.
Ducks Game Day and all that kind of stuff. Kick 4:30. Look, Oregon looking to complete a 12-0 perfect regular season as they've already been slated into the Big Ten title game. TBD on opponent, though I'm pretty sure it's going to be Ohio State at this point.
I would think you're correct.
Huskies looking to, I don't know, just win. They've already secured a bowl berth. They are not great under Jed Fish's first season. Didn't really anticipate that considering they basically had a massive overhaul the year before that in terms of talent, people going to the NFL and transferring, and also your head coach who left for Alabama and is now on the hot seat somehow. I don't really understand that very much, but
That's because it's different down there.
down there, we care about that instead of
means
welfare
more.
fraud.
It means more.
Okay. So instead of getting into the massive narrative first, which we can get into, which you and I kind of talked about before the show, we'll get into the nitty gritty stuff, which for Oregon, it's the injuries, right? Tez Johnson going to play.
Looks like
Is
it.
that kind of it? Now, Lanning, I know, said in a presser this week, like, I don't talk about injuries, which is what he has to say. But you would think they want to get Tez Johnson in here for a game like this to kind of get him amped up for the Big Ten title game and then going forward for the playoff game. So
I would
you
agree,
anticipate, you hope he's there.
Mhm.
Marcus Harbor, the second, injured, I believe, back in Michigan week.
Yep, they
One-
were
yeah.
both hurt during the
Yeah.
Michigan game. Tez early, and then I think Harper was around the third quarter.
Okay. So yeah, again, wanting to get him back. It's always good to get more pressure on the defensive line. Jaleel Flowers posting a little a cryptic message on Instagram, I believe, over the holiday week of 2 clocks and some dots with a picture of him. He could be back from his injury. Basically, the Ducks are kind of getting healthy at the right time, and in the trajectory of championship teams, whether it's the NFL or college football, this is the part at which you want to happen, which is you were able to win the difficult games, the ones that were against difficult opponents, whether it was Boise State or Ohio State, or the difficult situations, which is it's late in the season, you're traveling to Madison against a pesky Wisconsin team, and you just your offense isn't doing it that day. You just got to get it done. Now you're finally getting healthy at the very end of the season against not only your rival, but the team that if you beat, you will put yourself in a far better position in terms of the college football playoff going forward. Now we'll talk about the big macro thing, which is, does it really matter if Oregon wins today?
No, I mean, other than the fact that Lanning wants to end the narrative that he's never beat the Huskies.
Yes. Yeah.
That is the most important thing, I think. And that's why I think this game will matter. And that's honestly why I think you're going to see Oregon come out hot. And I think that don't be shocked if you see a couple fourth downs that they go for it that maybe they might normally not. You've also seen this year a lot when Oregon has gotten up by that 3-score, 4-score margin, they kind of call the dogs off. And when I say call the dogs off, I don't mean like they just start running the football, they get their backups in, but they take less risks with the football. They're okay punting instead of throwing up a 50-50 ball for Evan Stewart and seeing if he'll come down with it, or throwing up, a Hail Mary type pass in a spot where, hey, you don't need to get all those yards in one big chunk play. We're going to try to not have as many explosives. It just seems more of take the smart play, and if the smart play isn't there, we're just going to punt because our defense is that dominant right now. And so I think in this game, you might not see that either. Lanning hasn't beat the Huskies. There has been a narrative around him that he can't beat his rivals. And for the past 2 years, he's had to hear how about he can't beat UW. When it matters most, UW seems to come out on top. Now, is this necessarily a spot where UW scares you other than the fact that it's a rivalry game? No, but I think it's kind of similar to how Ryan Day probably feels right now going up against Michigan, where you might run the score up a little bit to get your get back.
Yeah, and now that's a really good comparison, and I think there are a couple of differences, but I think it applies, which is that Ryan Day is in a situation where even if they lose against Michigan today, I think all things concerning, you still get in the Big Ten title game. I think you need a couple things to happen that probably will happen for him to do that. But for Ryan Day, the bigger difference with him is the fact that rivalry truly does mean more. I know that Oregon and Washington is a big time rivalry, but let's be honest with each other. If Dan Lanning loses to the Huskies today and then beats most likely Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, you Duck fans, you'll all forget about it. You'll be fine with it. You won't care. Because you won the first Big Ten title with the realignment. You got into the college football playoff, which you'll still probably be ranked number 1 if you lose to the Huskies, then beat Ohio State. You'll probably dip to, 2, 3? And then if you beat Ohio State again, you'll get bumped back up to 1. So you'll still get your bye.
Yeah, probably. Well, you'll get the bye if you win the Big Ten, no matter what.
Yes. Yeah.
I would think you'd be the number 1 unless, like, Texas wins today against A&M and then they throttle Georgia. That would be maybe the only situation, because that would be Texas avenging a loss that they had.
Sure, okay. Yeah.
And so that might put them in a spot. Also, there's such an SEC bias right now. I mean, you have multiple 3-loss teams in Ole Miss and Alabama, and A&M, frankly, for that matter, where they're just sitting on the outside waiting. If one of these playoff teams, at least that were in on the last bracket, and they slip up, they're going to jump these teams back in.
Yeah.
Whether it's a 1 or a 2-loss team, right? Like, you look at Indiana. Indiana has 1 loss. They've throttled everyone that they've played against. Now, when they went against Ohio State, they ended up losing to Ohio State, and Ohio State, they frankly throttled them and showed that they're probably not a playoff contending team. But because of their record and because they've gone out and controlled what they can control and winning football games, they're in that spot right now. The SEC then starts crying and saying, oh, we should get our 2-loss teams in ahead of them, even though they have 1 loss. And then they have those 3 losses. Don't be shocked if, when we're looking at this after conference championship week, if you've got a 3-loss Georgia team and it's because they lost in their conference title game, if the committee tries to sneak them in over a 1 or 2 loss, like an SMU team or a 2-loss Miami team.
Yeah. That's a good segue into the next segment that we'll talk about here, which is, this is the first season of realignment we've had. It's not over yet because we have our conference title games, but we're just about done. And we, for the most part, know what's going on. And I guess I want to take a temperature of the room of how we felt about the first season of realignment. And also, we want to hear from you on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326, Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. How has your first season of realignment been? As a Duck fan, as a Beaver fan, as a fan of another college football team? Let us know. We're going to talk about that next, right here on a Will Squared edition of the Sinner and the Saint on 1080 The Fan. But first, here's some sports. All right, I got a scoreboard for you. Ohio State's got on the board earlier, up 3-0 on Michigan, about 6:14 left in the first quarter. There is an upset alert.
Already?
It's not much of one, but I got to give it to you. Do you want it?
I want it.
Okay.
Give it to me.
Vanderbilt, they're up 14-7
Yay.
on Tennessee. This is the same Vanderbilt that beat Alabama and then went on to lose 5 games.
This is the same Vanderbilt that beat Alabama and took Texas to the wire, but also lost to Georgia State.
Yeah. So.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though. Guess what? Big Will Bets.
Big Will Bets? Is that on there?
It's not on one of the plays, but I do have them on my my sheet. I wasn't confident enough to give them out. I got them at +7.5.
Nice.
I believe.
My father-in-law, who's a alumni of South Carolina, will be watching this one. Still currently 0s between South Carolina, Clemson, first quarter 3.5, and then Northwestern. Slight upset alert, I guess, up 10-7 on number 23 Illinois. About 2 minutes left in the first quarter there. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Will Darkins from the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, Fans desktop player. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The holidays just got jollier because
Season of massive conference realignment in college football, though there was some before we got to all this hullabaloo, but this was the first season of everything being blown up, hence the Pac-12. I was very sour on the college football season because of the fact my alma mater was left out of the dinner party and forced to play a Mountain West schedule but not be affiliated with the Mountain West. So that was very annoying.
They were in a situationship, if you will.
The situationship, yes. Did we win the Pac-12 title?
You did.
Yeah.
Are you going to wait until WSU comes for the first home game to raise it? You should. Is Oregon State the first Pac-12 champion to have a losing record? Is Oregon State the first Pac-12 champion to not make a bowl?
They might be. We don't set many records, so I'll take them when they come. Look, was college football made the better by this conference realignment? I don't know. I didn't honestly think so, and I think that's mostly because the part that bothered me the most was the fact that once Alabama and Georgia became kind of irrelevant, though I guess Georgia still is relevant, even though they had to go 8 OT against Georgia Tech last night, and now they're still in the SEC title game. I think once those things happened and you saw that Oregon was for real and they were undefeated, it kind of started to become obvious that, like, you know what? There are a lot better teams out there than just what's in the SEC. And I think what kind of soured me on this season again at the very end is what's going on right now, which is the SEC throwing a complete bitch fit about the idea of only getting 2 or 3 teams in to the playoff. Because, quite honestly, it's an average conference. You have 2 teams that are really, really good, and then after that, you have a bunch of teams that are good. The Big Ten has the best team in the country. They also have
probably
another
second.
Yeah, they have another team that's the second best team in the country. Quite honestly, maybe the best. You have 2 of the best teams, because even that game head to head, it went down to the wire, and it was only won by the Ducks because they exploited a rule very smartly.
Well, but even if they don't exploit that, I mean, there's still a world where the Ducks win if they don't exploit that rule, right?
That's true, yeah.
But I think the difference, and what makes me so upset about it, is you have these teams that then start playing but we would be favored over this team in this spot, or go look at DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever sportsbook that you have, and they're going to say, BetMGM, say, look, we would be 13-point favorites over Indiana. It's like, well, you were 13-point favorites over Kentucky.
Yeah.
You were 13-point or whatever it was, multiple score point favorite over Florida, and you didn't get the job done. I think what's so frustrating at times too with the SEC is they rest on their laurels of, like, well, we get the most 5 stars, or, you know, look at what we've done in the past, look at where we are now. And it's like, this needs to be a what have you done for me lately league. And I think at times there are teams that get propped up by just name value alone. Like, I'll do one in the Big Ten, right? Because I do think that flip-flop either way. Right now, Oregon won, so Oregon is the number 1 team in the country, and they are the best team in the country in my eyes. Ohio State is number 2 because they barely lost to that Oregon team. They have been perfect the rest of the way throughout. Now, have they had games where they didn't look awesome? Nebraska, yes, but they won those football games. Oregon had games that they didn't look awesome, but they won. Whereas you look at the SEC teams, they haven't done that. They've stumbled. They've lost, or they've had multiple games where they look bad. Yeah. But then I look at a team like Penn State. Penn State's in the Big Ten. They're what, the number 4 team right now in the country? They're not the number 4 team in the country. If you have, watched multiple games of theirs, and not just the Ohio State game, but you've watched them play the Minnesota game, you watch them play Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They are a very good team, but they have a ceiling, and that ceiling is best case scenario. You get lucky with some turnover luck, everything falls your way. Maybe you're a semifinal team, maybe, but that's probably the extent of it. And so I think, I don't know that it's realignment necessarily, but realignment plays a key role in it. But it's also the playoff expansion of, there are now more teams that are going to get in. So because more teams get in, there is going to be some criteria that becomes weaker for those teams to get in.
Yeah.
Then you factor in realignment. Penn State's second toughest game this year is Minnesota. Your third toughest game is USC after Ohio State.
Yeah.
Who have they really played? Like, aside from Ohio State, they have the better talent. And so,
Yeah.
of course, they won all these football games. They have the better talent. But are they really the fourth best team in the country? No, probably not. I don't know that they're the eighth best team in the country.
And this conversation we're having is being had on every single sports station and on ESPN and on Fox Sports and everywhere in the country continuously. And what the 12-team playoff was supposed to do was to quell this in some way. Right? Wasn't that it?
Yep.
Is that what I was being told? Now, I know the real reason was more money, but the reason I get told as a fan is we want to find out who the real champion is. Look, we know who the 4 best teams in the country are. It's probably Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, and Oregon.
See, and
That's probably it.
I don't know that I'd throw Texas in there.
Yeah. So even there,
And
you
I
can
don't
be
know that
like,
I'd throw Georgia in there.
talent
How many times?
wise, I think honestly last night, I think they're over it. I think they have gotten to the point now that Nick Saban was able to get his players to break through with. But I think that like every team that's incredibly talented roster-wise that's done it year in and year out, I think at a certain point they just are kind of like, can we just get to the end?
Just get to the end. Well,
Yeah.
and that game really meant nothing. Because
meant
if they
nothing.
lost, they were still going to be in the SEC
And
title
Georgia
game and have
was
a shot.
clearly better. They were just being dumbasses on plays.
Well,
Just stupid.
but see, but that's always going to be my issue at times with it because the games have to matter. I get it, man.
Yeah.
Indiana got lucky with their schedule. They still won.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything that they were supposed to do, and you should be rewarded for that. Ole Miss, if you look at on paper, Ole Miss should be a top 4 team. They have a great defensive line. They have a great secondary. Their weak position is the wide receiver group, and they still do fairly well. They can run the football. They have a good O-line. Their quarterback is very good. He's not Heisman very good, but he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks probably in the NCAA right now. But you still lost to Florida. You still lost to Kentucky. You lost games, and that is on you. You lost to LSU. What's a good loss in there? Okay, like Florida's a hot team at the end. They're still going to be 7-4.
Yeah.
Yeah, LSU, you lost to them when they were, at the top of the SEC. Guess what? They still lost 2 more SEC games. Probably should have lost a third. You lost to Kentucky. Kentucky's not going bowling. Just because they're in the SEC doesn't mean that they should be
And I think
thought
that
of as higher.
right there, I think that's exactly kind of,
I hate it.
and maybe it'll take a little time. Maybe that's part of this, is that the conference realignment is an opportunity for us as fans for an extended period to kind of start to realize that perhaps we don't have to think that way about SEC teams. I would argue this is what happened to the Big 12 at a certain point, was that you had a lot of really good teams in the Big 12, but it became clear year in and year out that, it's really only 2 teams in there. That's it. Oklahoma State's fine, but we all know what happens at the end there. It's Texas and Oklahoma, and quite honestly, for those Charlie Strong years and a little bit of the who was the Houston guy?
Tom Herman.
Tom Herman. Yeah, for the Herman years, it was they were whatever. You could
They
forget
weren't very
about them.
good.
It was pretty much when it was pretty much Oklahoma when Lincoln Riley was there. That was it.
I think the big thing that the SEC hasn't fully realized yet, and I think the biggest change isn't necessarily conference realignment, although I think it plays a factor. I don't think it's the 12-team playoff, but I think it plays a factor. But I think the biggest thing is NIL and the transfer portal, because you're seeing a lot of teams, Georgia, Alabama, that used to just stack talent because you'd tell kids, hey, you come here, you're going to sit for a year and a half, and then you will play, and then I'll put you into the NFL. Nowadays, why would I sit here? I can go make the same NIL money, whether I'm here at Georgia, here at Alabama, or if I go to Ole Miss, or if I go to Iowa, or if I, insert a second tier team here. And if you get a couple of the right transfers in with the right coach and you get a special season, all of a sudden you can go on a big run, and now you don't have to sit out, because everybody knows as a football player, there is nothing worse than not being able to actually play football, because practice sucks. You get beat up all the time. Playing on the scout team is the worst. Starters just take opportunities to take shot after shot after shot at you. You're getting screamed at by your coaches, and you're getting none of the reward. You're sacrificing everything, and you're getting nothing positive for you that you would like.
Yeah.
So why would I sit on the bench when I can go and transfer somewhere else and play? And I think you're seeing that depth that they used to have at Georgia, at Alabama, even Ohio State. It's going away. And so you're seeing more and more parity. So I think within 5 years, if the transfer portal stays the way that it is, the 12-team playoff will make more sense because you're going to have 12 really good teams.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're going to have that 2 to 3 elite teams that you used to have.
Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. Man, I am rooting so hard for Boise State to do some damage in the
Same.
playoffs this year, and quite frankly, they could, because there isn't a team out there that looks like they could dominate Boise State considering how they played against Oregon. It's a valid point. It's a valid point. Though I watched Boise State go down a lot to San Jose State and have to come back, and look, the Beavs played them hard. That's it. They played them hard.
They tried. I did
tried.
get this text, and I felt like I should share.
Sure.
P1 Matt is wondering why Luke is being lazy and not here.
Oh, this is what he does. Look, I worked with that guy now for like 7 or 8 years. I don't ask where he goes anymore. Quite frankly, I'm afraid to.
He's got cool things. He always comes back and tells me something cool that he did. He's got cool things going on. Matt and him, they golf a lot together, and Matt wanted to get a little shot in there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't talk to that guy.
They actually hate each other. I've
All
seen
right.
them come to blows.
Coming up next, Good versus Evil. Hour 2, we'll get more into the NFL and a little bit of college football and perhaps a little bit of NBA Cup action, as it kind of got me this year. I don't know how it did, but it did. Good on you, NBA. Will Squared Edition, Sinner and Saint. More coming up next, right here, 1080 The Fan.
You're
happened? What has happened to the national interest?
No time to form your own opinions?
I stand before you here today in the midst of gnarly times.
Well, no worries, brah. Let the sinner and the saint shred the gnar while you just sit back and ride the wave. It's time for Good versus Evil, brought to you by the Titan of Hawaiian Restaurants, 808 on 1080 The Fan.
It would be a 50-yard field goal from here. Drops it. Flag is thrown, though. Flag will stop it.
Illegal shift on the offense. That penalty's declined. The Chiefs did recover the backwards pass and take over first down.
Whoa, on top of it.
Wow.
There's Al Michaels cashing a check for reasons I'm still not sure. The Chiefs secured a playoff spot for the 10th straight season with a 19-17 win over the Raiders on Friday. They're 11-1, but 5 of their wins weren't settled until the final snap. Raiders put together back-to-back touchdown drives to take the lead, and the Chiefs grabbed it back with a field goal, only to see the Raiders reach the edge of field goal range at the Kansas City 32, though what you just heard was the fumble that turned out to be their 8th straight loss, the Raiders, that is. Are the Chiefs favorites to win the AFC?
Ooh, I think if you go by sportsbook odds, yes. But right now, I think if I had to pick in a one-game playoff situation, I think I'd go Baltimore. If you just look at what they can do offensively with the rushing attack between Henry and between Lamar Jackson. Now, obviously, there's still a month or so to go, month and change, and you're going to have to stay healthy. And both Lamar and Henry the last year or so have shown they can get hurt and they can get beat up. But if they can stay healthy with their rushing attack, I think my money might be on Baltimore. I mean, they're a size 12 shoe instead of a size 13 shoe away from beating Kansas City in Kansas City. So I think if I had to pick right now and I'm going in the AFC, I would go with Baltimore.
You set the tone with that first interception. What was that like?
It felt great, man. Coming out here getting an interception, I really get thrown that. So when I got my hands on the ball, I was excited.
There's great athlete Travis Hunter. The Buffaloes of Colorado, their two-way sensation, capped his career at home Friday with an emphatic closing argument for why he should win the Heisman Trophy, hauling in 3 touchdown passes and an interception as Colorado beat Oklahoma State 52-0. My goodness. Finishing the regular season at 9-3. Does a guy on a 3-loss team deserve the Heisman?
I would, if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I'd probably say Travis Hunter deserves the Heisman. And it's not because of the losses or anything like that that's changed my mind. It's how special of a season Ashton Jeanty truly is. If we really think about what Travis Hunter is doing, he is a very good receiver. He is a very, very good cornerback. But is what he's doing at cornerback that much grander than what anyone else is doing at the position? No. Is what he's doing at wide receiver grander than what anyone else is doing at that position? No. It's because he's doing both. So because he has the endurance and the ability to stay healthy and the endurance to play 1,000 snaps in this season, all of a sudden we think of him in a slightly different light. Yeah. Where when you look at Ashton Jeanty is going to get at least 2 more games. He is within striking range of Barry Sanders' rushing record. Now, I know that he's doing it in more games than Sanders did, but that's still an impressive stat.
Especially now. Because teams don't run the ball as
and
much
it's the
now,
only
obviously.
reason that they're winning.
Yeah.
They have a good defense, but offensively, their quarterback, he's not great. Yeah. He can throw the ball. He can find some open wide receivers. But if you take Ashton Jeanty off this Broncos team, they're probably, 8-4?
Yeah.
And you're, some special teams heroics away from beating what is now ranked the number 1 team in the country. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that they were definitely not the Ducks, that is, at 100% when you played them, but you still played them, and you played them down in Autzen, and you played them down to the wire to where they had to make a last-second field goal to win that football game. To me, it's Ashton Jeanty, and it's not saying that Travis Hunter isn't an insane specimen of an athlete, because that is what he is. I just feel like it should go to the best player in the country or the player that means the most to their team. And I think if you take Travis Hunter away, you maybe lose 1 more game.
Yeah,
you win 1 less.
Yeah. All right, time for my favorite story of the week, and this one comes from China. China. Okay, you ready for this?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Do you like pizza?
Yes.
Okay.
Pro pizza.
Good. Several Pizza Hut outlets in China have introduced a new dish on their menu. It's called the Goblin Pizza. And it's made headlines because of the fact there's a deep fried frog on the top.
Why? Why?
I'll tell you why. When
Yeah.
translated from Chinese, the caption of the social media post showing this frog on this pizza in the viral image is called the special bullfrog. I guess a bullfrog is eaten in China as a popular delicacy. You've never had a frog. You don't know. Maybe it's good.
I have eaten frog.
Oh,
Frog legs.
are they good?
Not the way we made them. But that was, again, that was high school. We talked earlier about Will Ortner being dumb and dangerous. That was Will Ortner being dumb and dangerous. We caught frogs out by the creek, and we brought them back and fried up the legs as 16-year-olds. Probably not the smartest thing we ever did.
Yeah. Now, this thing doesn't look appetizing. I'll say that. As it doesn't really look like a pizza so much as like a pita with a fried frog on top.
Why risk ruining a pizza? It's a pizza.
Okay.
Make a pizza.
What is the worst pizza you've ever eaten?
Oh, probably some stupid thing that someone was like, I'm going to make a fancy pizza.
What about restaurant-wise?
Oh, I mean, it's, what does Sue call them? The TGI McScratchies. I'm not going to outright name the restaurant, but it's one of the quicker pizza places. There was a place in Ellensburg. Every year they change the name of the pizza place.
Oh, yeah.
Like it would always be pizza and
sign.
then the name.
Yeah.
It'd be like Pizza Steve's, then Pizza Ted's, then Pizza Will's. It was bad, man.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Pizza Hut for me. Pizza Hut's terrible.
I like Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut's bad.
I'm not anti-Pizza Hut.
I'm very anti-Pizza Hut. And in fact, the edge of bad pizza that I will eat, like the outer skirts of it, it's Domino's. I'll eat Domino's, and that's as far as I'll go. After that, I won't go below.
See, I'm going Pizza Hut over Domino's.
Interesting.
Actually, and you know what's funny too? In the right situation, the hot and ready pizzas over at Little Squeezers.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's below, dude.
No,
Don't do that.
No. You've had too many people in your ear for too long telling you that it's not good.
Oh, no, I've
It's
had
good.
it.
No, it's
I had
good.
it drunk, and I hated it.
It's fine. It's a fine pizza. I don't hate it. It could be way worse.
I do
so
love
worse
that.
pizzas.
It's a fine pizza.
It's fine. It's $5.
Look at that. There's cheese and sauce.
You can't even get a McFlurry for $5 anymore. And
It even
they're
has
gonna give you
bread.
a whole pizza. Yeah. Although don't eat lots of pizza because lots of carbs. And the food pyramid lied to you.
Don't want to have that fat ass.
No, it depends on the fat ass that you have. Sometimes it could be good.
Yeah, I think that's my limit. I'll say I'll go Domino's, and again, if I eat Domino's, it's got to be like, yeah. I don't want to spend a lot of money, and I'm not necessarily hungry. I just want pizza. Like I'll shell out quite a lot of money for just regular pizza joints that are pretty good. Like your Round Table, I think Round Table's pretty good, and I'll shell out the money for it. I think Pizza Schmizza is good. I'll shell out the money for it. Now Pizzicato, I will not.
What is Pizzicato?
Pizzicato is this restaurant that has very good pizza, but unless you want to like max out your credit card, don't buy a pizza there. It tastes amazing. It's just too expensive. It's very fancy.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I'm looking up like pizza places in Portland right now, and it's like I don't know that I just want pizza.
Yeah.
I don't need to go out and go get like crazy pizza. I like Bellagio's. Bellagio's makes a good pie.
Bellagio's. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm not anti-Bellagio. I am pro Bellagio's Pizza. They do a good job.
This texter, Pizza Hut thin crust is actually very good. I wouldn't know because I don't eat garbage.
You know what I do want to do though? Like when I went to New York, he's like, you got to get the New York slice. I want to go to Chicago.
Oh, and have deep dish?
Yeah, and then I
That's
want to
good.
go to Detroit, and I want to have the Detroit style.
The Detroit style.
And
I'll
then
say this.
New Haven.
I've had pizza from New York. I was just insanely underwhelmed by it. It was fine. It wasn't great. I think it's just really one of those insular things of like beer in the Northwest, right?
Yeah.
Where like we say it's incredible, and then people come here and drink it. And they're like, it's good. It's fine. This is okay.
You know that
Like-
Portland has one of the highest ranked pizza like joints.
I heard that too,
in the
and
country.
it's Pizza
Shoals.
yeah, which I also was kind of like, this is fine, it's okay. This isn't the greatest pizza I've ever had. It's good.
Let's see. They Big Seven Travel put a list of the top 50 places,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like Pizza Shoals came in at number 2.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I remember eating it and thinking like, this is fine. It's okay. I'm not incredibly. Now you want to go to a nice pizza joint?
Well, maybe it's
Go to
10.
friggin' Pizza Caboose in Tigard. They'll give you a big ass pizza and JoJo's.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There you go.
You looking to have indigestion problems? Go to Pizza Caboose. It's delicious. Don't do anything the next day. All right, that was Good versus Evil. Brought to you by our friends over at 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. You can visit them at ate-oh-ate.com. Hour 2, let's dive into some NFL talk as we're drawing closer and closer to playoff scenarios coming into form, as mentioned in Good versus Evil. The Chiefs actually have a playoff spot, interestingly enough. But there are some matchups this week that are rather intriguing. Let's start with that here on the Sinner and the Saint, right here. Will Squared Edition, 1080.
the final frontier. These are the voices of the sinner and the saint.
Did you really think that after absolutely blowing your butt out in game one?
Did they blow their butt out?
Yes, they blew their collective butts out to try to get that win.
Their weekly mission to provide hot takes, medium takes, mild takes, to boldly go where no show has gone before.
Take me to Flavor Town.
Luke Anderson.
You're welcome. You're welcome, world.
Will Darkins.
I know what you're thinking. What will the butt test tell us that the nose test didn't?
The Sinner and the Saint Tailgate Show on 1080 The Fan, the
Odyssey
map,
It's just turned into a gigantic Mexican.
and 1080thefan.com.
Hour 2 here on the Sinner and the Saints on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Will Darkins hanging out with you. Luke Anderson, MIA. If you do see him, please, for the love of all that is holy, reach out. His family's concerned. Will Ortner,
They miss him.
behind the glass. It's Will Squared edition of Sinner and Saint, Hour 1 podcast. Go check it out at the Odyssey app or at 1080thefan.com. As you can tell, I'm not very good at hosting. I don't do it all that much, which is why I blew through our first segment in this hour, because I'm not really good at this. I'm still learning. After
I think you
8
do a
years,
great
I'm
job.
still learning.
Hey, you know what? If you stop learning, that just means you're dead.
Yeah, you know what? I like that. I'm going to use that excuse now to my wife whenever she tells me, like, I've asked you to do this many, many times, and you still just do it wrong. I'm going to say that. I'm going to be
just
like,
learning.
I'm
And
still learning, babe.
The minute that I stop, I might as well just be dead.
Since I screwed that up, let's just throw some pizza take here. I do have on the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326 Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. Some pizza takes here. This texter saying Ken's Artisan.
Yeah, I was wrong. It was not a Pizza Shoals. It was Ken's Artisan.
Okay, I've never heard of Ken's Artisan actually.
Me neither.
So I'm intrigued and I would try it. Now this texter also saying a Pizza
Would.
Shoals is worth the wait. Pizza Cat is a downtown go-to for Timbers games. Domino's good for kids and friends because they don't know the difference, which I agree with. And
Yeah.
they're saying Pizzicato sucks. Pizzicato's good. It's just too expensive. It's just it doesn't.
It's an expensive pie.
Yeah, it just doesn't really like, and I think that's my whole thing with pizza too, is that like I don't, if I'm gonna pay for a lot for it, it either needs to be like very unique,
Yeah.
or just taste incredibly good. And for the most part, I think almost all pizza just kind of tastes like pizza to me at this point in my life.
I'm kind of on that wave as well,
Yeah.
but you can still tell the difference, I think, between a good pizza and a bad pizza. I think there's just sometimes where you have to be like, I'm eating a bad pizza today, and that's okay. Like, I think at times the scouting reports of pizza make people go into it thinking, oh, well, this pizza is going to be garbo.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's like,
good.
Dude,
Yep.
just enjoy the pizza. Like, who cares? It like even a bad pizza, it's better than most things that you eat. Now, that being said, I've almost completely cut pizza out of the diet. Pizza does not come up often.
You
Although
poor
I
man.
do want to give one special shout out because I am a small town guy. The Hawkinson Market Pizza. If you are ever in the area, that's a darn good pizza. You can get like the take and bake option. They'll make it there for you sometimes. It's a very, very good pizza. Now, when you're ordering the pizza and the person asks you how tall you are, they will not find it funny if you tell them you're 5'10".
They're not into that, huh?
She did not appreciate my humor. How tall? Like, also, don't go up to someone and be like, wow, you're tall. Like, as an adult, like, what are you, a child? That's a child thing. As an adult, you don't need to be like, wow, how tall are you? Like, first thing out of your mouth. And so I responded with what I thought was pretty funny. I'm 5'10".
I got another good response for you.
Did not appreciate it.
Well, I don't think that's any of your business. Throw that at somebody and see how they
Just
react.
fire off.
Dude, no one will touch you if you throw that one out. Seriously.
I've
that's none of your business. They'll be like, oh, God, I'm sorry.
Like, that's confidential, actually.
Yeah. No, I don't want to talk about that, actually.
I actually measure in centimeters.
I'll throw this one out because throw it back to some Ducks and Beeves.
Yeah, that's right.
Rivalry thing.
Sports show.
Well, we'll get there. Come on, man. I destroyed this segment. Just let's call it what it is. It's a pizza segment. It's a pizza segment.
Pizza.
What's the better? Tracktown in Eugene, Tracktown Pizza, or American Dream Pizza in Corvallis.
I'm gonna upset people. Never tried either.
Okay, you should.
Well,
'Cause they're both equally good.
And here's the thing.
But
I lived in Eugene.
Oh, really? You never had Tracktown?
For 2 months. I was down there. I was doing some asbestos removal. I was working on a roof in my underwear. It was a thing.
American Dream, I would tell you, is better because they actually garlic soak your crust, and it tastes incredible, and it's thick, and it has a lot of toppings on it, and it tastes great. And Tracktown's good. It's tasty, but it doesn't beat the flavor that American Dream has. So 503-864-6326. Text us in if you've had both of them, or if you just want to brag about your town's pizza. Throw it in there. I'll read it. A little reset segment here, so let's get back to it. Let's dive into the NFL and see what we got on the slate here for our Week 13. We'll do that next right here on the Sinner and Saint Will Squared Edition, 1080 The Fan. But first, it's time for your Ducks game day weather and traffic update. Now, this would help quite a lot if I actually had the read up, which I used to have. Oh, I got it back. Every 10 minutes brought to you by Victoricos Mexican Food. Order Victoricos for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Willow.
Thanks, Will. Right now, it's going to take you about an hour 45 to get down to Autzen Stadium. If you leave right now from downtown Portland, that puts you there right at noon. Plenty of time to still tailgate responsibly and then get to watch the game. Looks like there's a couple slowdowns just south of Salem, but after that, it should be pretty smooth sailing. Couple Smokies just north of Salem and one just by the stadium when you're traveling down for the Ducks game. Right now, it is 37 degrees in Eugene. Looks like around game time, it's going to be right around 40 degrees when the Ducks take on the Huskies.
Your business needs a network it can count on.
NFL. Huh? What do we think, guys? Yeah?
Pro NFL.
Okay. Week 13 of the NFL season. It already kind of started with some drama on a couple sides. First of which being Matt Eberflus is done as the Bears head coach, which was completely predictable at the end of the season. I just didn't think it would happen now. The Bears are an organization that doesn't usually do this kind of thing, which is mid-season firings. They kind of wait.
This is the first one, I believe, in franchise history. But there was a lot of pushback that he should have been fired basically the last 2 or 3 weeks. Well, yes, he should have been fired last year, but specifically the last 2 or 3 weeks because they keep losing in new, fun ways, but they're all his fault in some way. Like, I see a little bit on X where there are some people going, well, it's actually on Caleb Williams for this because he's the quarterback and he could. No. Yes, Caleb Williams could have called a timeout. He probably should have called a timeout. But also, he's a rookie quarterback. That's on your head coach.
Yeah, it's on the head coach. Look, the Bears, I think, needed to, he should have been fired last year, honestly, because when they drafted Caleb Williams, they also drafted along with him, who was it? Odunze. They had gotten DJ Moore, I believe, the year prior to that, and they started kind of reforming their offensive line a bit. Their defense had started to get a little bit better. You needed to take the full blow up. The full rebuild, and Eberflus was the last drag of what that last attempt was. So, Eberflus will be fine. I'm sure he'll get another job somewhere.
You should have gotten an OC too, like an offensive mind. Like, go and get Ben Johnson. Go and get. Well, last year.
I think that's going to happen now. I think Ben Johnson's probably gone. If the Lions make it to the Super Bowl, Ben Johnson's gone.
I think you're right. I think that he knew. That he could come back and how good this team was more than likely going to be. And that's why he did come back. But I also think that Ben Johnson is going to have his pick of spots to land in. And
he's top target.
I think that Chicago's a good spot. Like last year, I would have fired Eberflus and then put in my full attention on Johnson or Slowick. Now, it looks like some of Slowick's shine is kind of wearing off down in Houston along with CJ Stroud's. But you need to put an offensive mind, a forward-thinking offensive mind around this quarterback because it's shown. Like, they have the new OC because they fired Waldron a couple weeks ago. The last 2 weeks, Caleb Williams has looked good, or at least better than what he looked like before. Because they're not asking him to make a bunch of reads and route trees that, frankly, aren't that imaginative.
No, I think I think the Bears are probably the best situation for Ben Johnson. I would hope no one would touch that Dallas job when it becomes
I don't know that it becomes open.
I will. They have to.
Jerry keeps talking about how much he loves.
He has to.
He should.
You can't do that.
But he should have fired Garrett 4 years before he did.
Know, but it's like the Bears, right? It's not his thing. It's not what he does anymore. He used to do it like that. Now he doesn't. We all know what's going to happen. Mike McCarthy's going to not be resigned. And then he's going to go hire Deion Sanders. And it's going to be hilarious.
Do you believe?
Do you believe? We're a 3-loss team, but people still somehow pay attention to us.
They do still have an outside shot at the playoffs.
That's right. They do.
What would be the funnier thing to happen? Deion going to the Dallas Cowboys and then being the one that brings them the Super Bowl? Or, who's another loudmouth? Or like Joel Embiid finally winning a title, but he does it.
The first one.
He leaves to Boston.
I don't like him. He's annoying.
No, you know what it is? Scoot Henderson goes off. The Blazers end up making the playoffs this year.
Gotta get to that lake. Cowboys beat the Giants on Thanksgiving as well, which was slightly surprising because I don't know. I mean, I know the Giants are 2-10, but like I kind of thought they'd get a little more energy in them with DeVito. Now they didn't the week prior, but I kind of thought there'd be a little bit more energy injected. And I thought the Cowboys were dead on arrival. And now, Parsons is saying like, oh, people are underestimating us. It's like, no, dude, we know what's up. Like, you're 7.
You're not very good.
Yeah, you're a 7-loss team. You're not making the playoffs.
No. Well, I also think that they went with Locke in that one, and I think in the first quarter it looked like Locke had provided a spark. He was running around well. He gets into the end zone or he gets right next to it, and then they're able to score a touchdown. On the next play, I felt like he was making good decisions with the football, and then he throws the interception, which was one of the more athletic plays by that Cowboys defender to get his hand up, tip the ball up in the air, get the interception, and return it for a touchdown. And then as soon as that happened, the Giants were just like, here we go again, and they just all quit. I think that's a spot where you're going to see a spot pop open. And I think I think Brian Daboll is a good coach.
Yeah. Packers over Dolphins. That was kind of a snoozer. We talked about Raiders Chiefs in good versus evil. If you look at the rest of the slate, a lot of the early games, there's not a lot of consequence going on. You could possibly say that Chargers Falcons is interesting because of the tight playoff spot for the Chargers and the tight division race for the Falcons. Steelers Bengals. I just don't care about the Bengals anymore.
We have to give up against right. We have to give up on the Bengals.
They're a 7-loss team. They're not going to.
They're not good.
No.
Right? Like, because I keep having this issue every single week where I look at the Bengals and I'm like, well, they're going to win this football game.
Their defense isn't good. That's the problem.
Their
and then
offense is unbelievable.
Yeah, they started slow like they always do, and it came to bite them in the ass. Yeah, I mean, as you go down here, there's not really a lot here. Again, another division one to look at if you want to compare the Chargers and Falcons with Bucks and Panthers. The Panthers have shown life lately under Bryce Young, getting floated back in there. Bucks are fighting for their playoff lives, essentially for their division title lives, which is essentially in that division a playoff life. But the 3 games that really are of most importance, in my opinion, are the ones right at the very end of the Sunday, which is Eagles-Ravens, which Ravens are staring down a tough one here, which is if they lose this game, they're a 5-loss team, which means you're one more loss away from you're out of the playoffs, really. It's kind of rare a 6-loss team makes the playoffs in the NFL. You got to have a lot after that point. You got to have a lot going for you. So you have a very slim margin there. 49ers, you get Brock Purdy back against the Bills at home. For any other reason, just I want to see how the 49ers will play in that situation. Plus, again, that's another division where it's toss-up at this point.
Yeah.
And then finally, the Sunday night game is interesting in a way to me just because the Browns look like they're having fun playing football again, which is great. I like that. Honestly, look, they replaced one quarterback who sexually harasses people.
He's a piece of garbage.
With another quarterback who has been accused of sexually harassing people. So in that way, it's kind of the same thing. Anyway, but they're playing the Broncos, who, for all that was said about them in the preseason, and especially in that first game against Seattle, I think Bo Nix is your Rookie of the Year front runner right now. Now,
100%.
Yeah, and a lot of people would kind of point towards Jaden Daniels because he's stat padded for about 5 weeks at the start of the season, which ultimately crescendoed in that Bears Hail Mary. But Bo Nix looks like a legit quarterback. He looks like what Sean Payton had promised us, which is I'm going to take this dude who I love because I looked inside his backpack and he had a bunch of football stuff in it, and I was like, I like that guy. And he has become one of the more efficient quarterbacks, not only in his division, but also in the league. He had a rough start because he was a starting rookie QB on a, let's admit it, okay team.
They have bad receivers.
Yeah, they're not
Their
great.
receiving core isn't great, but early on, we had talked about this before. This was the perfect landing spot for Nix. Like a lot of times with rookie QBs, it's not necessarily do they have the talent, it's do you land in the right spot for you. If you're not a mobile quarterback and you land in with an OC or a head coach that wants to run a system where you need a mobile quarterback, it just isn't going to work for you. What Bo showed at Oregon is that when he is getting the ball out of his hand as quick as possible, it's 1, 2, 3, throw. You got 2 reads, let him pre-snap, get his things aligned, get his players in the position that he wants to attack the defense that he's seeing, and then let him throw. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the country. I mean, shoot, if you beat UW, I think he beats Jaden Daniels for the Heisman. I really do. If you win that Pac-12 championship, Bo Nix might win that Heisman Trophy. And now the irony is you've got them going against each other for the Rookie of the Year, and it seems like it's really just a two-man race at this point. I think you have to put your money on Bo because Bo is coming on strong, whereas Jaden Daniels, he starts off great, and then he's been petering out because that's kind of what Cliff Kingsbury, his offensive coordinator, does. And when the voters come to vote, again, it's a lot of what have you done for me lately? They don't vote at the beginning of the year. They vote at the end. And who right now has the stronger narrative? Who's got people turning into Bo Leavers? Who's got people taking shots of Bo Zempic? You know? Like it's
What'd you say about Ozempic?
They're taking shots of Bo Zempic.
Oh, Bo Zempic? Is that a thing? Is this on the fly?
No, I can't claim that I made up Bo Zempic.
I was going to say, that's pretty good.
I don't think I made up Bo Lever either, but I heard someone say it, and so I've been copying it. And then most people don't call me out for it. Most people are just like, wow, that's really smart. But Bo Nix, right now, he has to be the Rookie of the Year, at least the way that he's playing and the way that he's projected to play the last month or so of the season. He's getting the ball out of his hands quickly to his wide receivers. Yeah. This was not a team in Denver that you thought was going to make the playoffs. They have an outside shot at it. I believe right now, if you look in the wild card race, if they're not in it, they're the top team in the hunt.
Yeah. Yeah, if they make the playoffs, you can't not give it to him.
You have to give it to him.
Because Daniels...
they're slowly dropping further
and
further.
And look, something's going on with his ribs. He doesn't want to admit it. And he's doing the cardinal sin of superstar rookies, which is you get hurt and then you play through it because you think you have to prove it to the locker room, when in reality, you should probably just sit because we're playing the long game here, bro.
If you sit 2 games... you'll be just fine, and you'll come back, and it'll actually be better for you.
Even if you guys don't make the play, if the Commanders don't make the playoffs,
honestly, they're not going to. They're the last team. They're the last wild card team right now.
It's fine. It's okay. You guys are exceeded expectations wildly. You're in a division where, as the Cowboys look this season, and the Giants look like, you'll be in control for years to come. Like you'll be competing against the Eagles, and that's a good spot to be in. Hey, we didn't talk about Thanksgiving, so let's talk about Thanksgiving and the actual meal itself, because I like talking about my favorite foods there.
Yum.
And then also Black Friday. Do you do it? And why? More coming up here on the Sinner and the Saint on 1080 The Fan, a Will Square edition. But first, it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food Order. Victorico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here is Will O.
Thanks, Will. Right now, if you're leaving Portland, you've got a couple of Smokies. They're sitting right in the middle of town as you're driving. Make sure you go in the speed limit. You got a little bit of a slowdown just north of Salem and just south of Salem as you make your way down to Eugene. Right now it's 37 degrees. Looks like right around kickoff it's going to be 40 degrees when the Ducks take on the Huskies.
Portland Perks. Experience the taste of Aloha at the
Will Darkins on 1080 The Fan.
All right, Thursday was Thanksgiving. Did you celebrate, Will?
I give thanks. I tweeted out the things that I was thankful for.
Did you really?
Yeah. Would you like me to read them?
Sure.
All right, give me a sec. I'll have to pull it up.
Why aren't you ready?
Well, we didn't talk.
What do you think? We improvise this show? We do. That's exactly what we do.
Yes, that is. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I expect. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Things that I'm thankful for.
Right.
Number 1, I don't live in a family that does a stupid turkey trot every Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's a good one.
2, ham is becoming more of an acceptable option on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Not a big turkey guy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
3, everyone knows I can't cook, so no one asks me to cook anymore on Thanksgiving.
Good for you. That's a good precedent to set.
I'll wash a mean dish, though.
Yeah. No, that's good.
4, I don't live in a crazy Black Friday camp outside of the store family.
Oh, now I did that for 2 years. And I got a TV out of it, and then I got nothing out of the second one because I got the TV the first time, and then I didn't have a plan the second time, and I was just like, there's got to be good stuff there.
Right. There wasn't ready to go. 5, I'm thankful for peanut butter pie. I get that every year on
What's
Thanksgiving.
that?
My mom makes this peanut butter pie thing. It's so freaking good.
What is it? Just peanut butter or what?
Yeah, there's
what
like
else is
nutter
in it?
butter stuff. Dude, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't want to look behind the curtain. What if I find out that it's like the stupid Wizard of Oz? You go from this crazy wizard, cool green face guy to like Jeff Goldblum. It's like, that sucks.
It's a fried frog.
Right. Honorable mention, because I did forget to put this in there, but P1 Shane pointed out to me. I am thankful for tank top thirst traps that I create. Not that others.
For what?
That I create.
Tank
I'm
top
gambling.
thirst straps? What?
Yes, when I make my gambling videos, there have
You
been
wear
times
tank
where I will
tops?
wear tank tops. Yeah,
Why don't you just go shirtless?
I'm pretty hairy. No one needs to see
Great.
that.
Do that.
No.
In fact, here's what I would say for your
Time to start going
Will's bets.
going shirtless.
Yes. Why don't you just
Let the chest breathe.
Look, why don't you just make a theme around it? Because, by the way, it's a great segment. You do a great job with
I
it.
do appreciate that.
But what I want to see is
My chest, apparently.
try to find a garage where somebody has, I'm sure Suk has this, but somebody has a bench, a bench press, and a car which looks to have been worked on in the last year. And
Ooh,
I just want you sitting there,
with some grease.
yeah, with jeans on and no shirt, with your backwards hat, and just giving it to us straight. And the videos can have introductions where you're just getting done doing something, whether it's lifting weights, perhaps you're doing something minor to the car, or you're just finishing
Ooh.
lunch.
I should just go full blue collar.
Yeah, just do that.
That's
You
a
don't
good-
have to be blue collar,
That's
just
a
act
good-
like you are.
That's a good bit.
Yeah, because you could carry that into a national segment. Because I think a lot of the times there's a perception of people who gamble, which is that they're scuzzballs.
Yeah. And I can be blue collar. I won't
And
be
you
a
could just be
scuzzball.
blue collar gambling.
I just
guy.
got a text right now. Now this is on my own personal device, but P1 Casey, he says he has the garages for it.
do it.
I'm gonna have to go over to P1 Casey's place.
Do that, dude.
It'd be
That's
fantastic.
an angle I haven't seen yet. But quite honestly, because every single person who gives betting advice, they're either in a suit or they sound like an extra from Casino.
Or they're hot.
Yeah, or they're hot, which in that case I don't trust it. I would
I do.
trust blue collar Will.
Blue collar Will giving out picks.
Yeah, and I want the reasoning behind the picks too to have blue collar common sense. Such as like,
I'm going to the game, so I'm betting the over.
yeah, or like I'm taking let me think. Like I'm taking Bo Nix this weekend against the Browns. Cause you'll give a couple of stats first to back it up, but then like the soft reasoning, which is like, he was talking a lot about family and how thankful he is about that. And I appreciate that. Also, he seems like he did a lot of work back in the South, kind of doing yard work and stuff. I heard some story about him doing that. Strong hands, that's something you can rely on.
There you
That's
go.
something I do in my everyday life. I was telling my metaphorical son this when I was working on the something in this car. Something like that.
That'd be great.
I want you to do it.
I like that.
I
'cause
want to see it.
The tank top started because I went 0-3, so I responsibly lost the shirt off my back.
Yeah. Do it. Blue Collar Picks.
That's not a bad one.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's the name of it.
Quick, we have to delete this segment so no one steals
Yeah.
it from me.
Blue
Quick.
Collar Picks.
Nobody.
It'd
Oh,
be great.
And then also, I'm thankful for my friends and family.
Oh.
That was the last one. I forgot about that.
Very nice.
Yeah. How was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was good. I was with my brother's family and my mom at her house, and we ate food, and we got my son's 3 and his daughter's 3, and then he has another daughter who's 1.5.
Oh, that's like perfect. They
Yeah.
can. That's the perfect age.
So they go
for
down in the
cousins.
basement, and
They're
then
all
they
the
got
same.
some crazy thing going on where they're all chasing each other.
Yeah,
So I go down there and I supervise, and
Perfect. How do you? I feel like you supervising is like you sitting on the couch with like the TV on either like a game or an old movie, and then like whenever you hear like a loud noise, you just go, "Hey, what's going on over there?" Nothing, Dad. Oh, all right. All right.
how did you know that?
Because that's what I would do.
Dude, that's to a T.
What do you
That
think
really was
I
it.
do?
You hear something like, you hear, hey, we good? Okay.
You hear like a
And
quick,
I have to mute. It's like,
right. You hear like a quick like like
Yeah.
are you okay?
whoa, hey, what's
you
that?
okay? Oh, you just fell? Ah, you're
Yeah.
fine. Get up.
You all right? Anyone crying? Okay.
Then this will happen. You won't hear anything for like 10, 15 minutes, and you'll be like, oh no, I gotta go look.
Yeah.
Now I haven't heard a noise or a sound.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Then my wife's like, is everything all right down there? Oh, crap.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
Look at us. We're all playing with Barbies.
Okay. Vancouver Ford text line. I got to hear that this is actually a good idea because I can echo chamber myself sometimes. Blue Collar Picks with Will Ortner. I think that
I'm willing to do it.
dude, I think that like, also you do stuff for BetQL, right?
I do, yeah. I
Dude,
write an article.
pitch this to them. Seriously, do it. Pitch it to them. Now you got to do research on blue collar stuff. I know you are.
I'm not very blue collar.
I think you live. Look,
I
you're closer to
can.
blue collar than me. I
That's
grew
fair.
up around wasps, so I'm not giving you the best. Like, I don't have like the best,
Yeah.
examples for you.
Yeah.
But I know a good idea when I smell it. And blue collar picks is right up there.
You know what I need to be doing too? Like I need to be driving in a big lifted truck that I don't call it a truck, I call it a rig.
Your rig.
And then I got to hop out of my rig and be like,
Yeah.
I'm just driving my rig.
And then you can do
Rolling coal.
You can do special edition broadcasts, but it's not like with like, again, it's not with celebrities. It's like your buddies who
There we go.
live out in like Kelso or something. You're like,
I have buddies who live in Kelso.
Dude.
This is and guess what?
I've-
Blue collar workers. They work on HVACs.
dude, you and they can do the picks, and then they can show you HVAC stuff.
Dude, right? Like
Yeah.
it'll be great.
Like they'll get their picks out of the way and then give like the blue collar reasoning, and then you're like, all right, now show me how to clean this air duct.
We'll have a camera come in and I'll be like faking hitting something with a wrench. Didn't see you there. I was just fixing my HVAC system.
Oh, nice of you to join us. I was just recalibrating the thing.
It'd be like a Mr. Rogers thing where instead of putting on my loafers, like I go over and wash my hands.
Yeah.
But they're still stained because everyone knows I've been working with grease.
That's right. What's that Sharpie doing there? Ignore that.
Just like, why? Why are you dirty? But it doesn't look like you do any actual work.
All right. Let's wrap this thing up with what to watch. That's coming up next here on the Sinner and the Saint on 1080 The Fan. But first, it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Willow.
Thanks, Will. Right now, if you're heading down to Autzen, still about an hour 45 to get down there. You got a little bit of a slowdown just south of Salem, just north of Albany, though. It looks like you got a couple Smokies a little bit north of Salem, one right around the stadium in Autzen. right now in Eugene, the temperature is bumped up to about 38 degrees. Look like it's going to be about 41 degrees when it's kickoff for the Huskies-Oregon game.
Have a special somebody on your shopping list that loves to golf? Then you'll love Red Tail Golf Center's annual store.
Looking for in this rivalry week of college football, and there's nothing more important to watch than the Washington Huskies visiting Autzen Stadium in Eugene today. 4:30 kick right here on your home for the Ducks, 1080 The Fan. Will Ordner?
Yes, sir.
I am looking for Dan Lanning to put a statement win together, and a statement win kind of goes back to what you were talking about in hour one, which is that Dan Lanning, well, he doesn't do very well against the Huskies. I am now thinking he's got to blow this team out to make a statement. What are you thinking?
I think he's going to blow them out, much like I thought Ryan Day was going to blow out Michigan. Still plenty of time to do that. Obviously, that's 10-10 at the half, but I think Lanning is a guy who is not above getting revenge, and the best revenge that he could get is just absolutely smacking this UW team.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, great.